In the current context,
Right.
you have ISIS
Right.
talking about dharmics as cow worshippers.
Yeah.
You have the left
Urine drinkers and cow urine drinkers and no
talking
mother
about
drinkers.
it in the same manner.
Right.
You have, in fact, recently there was a cartoonist who drew this cartoon after the Ujjain case, where
I saw that, the child.
The child is
And people praying to the cow.
Right, and people are praying to the cow.
Right.
Even though it was a cow worshipping
I don't think the cartoonist has walked around the Ujjain Mandir, the Mahakaleshwar Mandir, because then he will know what is the demographic of that entire locality.
No, of course he hasn't. He hasn't even, he's chosen to ignore the fact that it was actually a cow worshipping priest
who saved the girl ultimately, who rescued the girl.
Helped the girl. But the point is that we are willing to concede so much of what we believe in, including the consumption of beef.
Right.
That even that non-negotiable, for which so many of our ancestors have laid down their lives,
right,
is now becoming a symbol of whether you're a traditionalist or a modernist. And consumption of beef, actually the opposition to consumption of beef, is now seen as something which holds the dharmic society back.
Right.
So what is your position on that, coupled with why is it so difficult for the Hindu society to reach a set of non-negotiables, which is so important in today's day and age, where everything is so disparate and so scattered?
Because the core Vedic identity is constantly being beaten and being shamed under the rubric of Brahminical oppression, or using the stick of Brahminical oppression. So the Vedic religion is the one to take the hit under the Hindu umbrella. And what you're being told is that but for your presence, all of us would be living in harmony. Yeah. Both Hindus and Hindus with others. The outsider is basically saying, you finish off this Brahmin, you'll be safe with us. Now the people within are also saying, you finish off this Brahmin, all of us will be treated equally. Okay? It's malicious, it's ahistoric, and it's genocidal. Okay? So, on the question of beef consumption, to me it's a non-negotiable. Okay? Maharaja Ranjit Singh took a position on it. Okay? So many of our, let's say, our civilizational icons have taken a position on it. This is something that has represented what you believe in. If that too is negotiable, what is the line? Are you telling me there is no line?
But that then again speaks to the paradox of Hindu being a religion versus Hindu being a way of life.
No, it's not. See, that's what I said. As long as you don't recognize that it's an agglomeration of systems, and therefore each system has its own set of values, and there are certain common values also across the board, and there is a core that has animated and defined the identity of this country, which is the Vedic religion, then the problem is that there is nothing by way of let's say, a core which is capable of keeping it together. Allow me to say this, whether it is Khalistanism or Dravidianism or any such ism which pits itself against Bharat and its territorial integrity, it starts with its rebellion against its civilizational integrity and its rebellion against the core, which then translates to territorial separatism.
Yeah.
That is the beginning of it. It's easier for you to see this when it's Kashmiri jihadism, because you're like, oh, he's like coming with the AK-47 and he's saying all sorts of things. He's like Gomutra drinker, so it's very easy to see this. This fellow continues to say, sorry, I will refashion my icons in the other mold. The Dravidianism effectively says, even if you want to worship Shiva, make sure that he has got nothing to do with the Vedic pantheon. He's got nothing to do with the larger Hindu fabric or the Vedic fabric. He's making the statement. So what do you see here? Balkanization of the culture and the balkanization of the mind and balkanization of dharma precedes balkanization of Bharat. There is no escaping it at all. So there needs to be a core sheet anchor which has the guts to stand up and say, we are here, we will be here, we have always been here, we have defined the identity of this land, and we will continue to do so come what may, no matter what the labels you impute to us. We will introspect in terms of what are our belief systems and our practices which can continue in the present. But we will not do this under the threat of persecution or genocide, no matter what. That cultural top layer has been systematically eroded, especially post-Mandal Commission, because everybody is in the race for reservations, which means you have to somehow create a victimhood narrative in order for you to be entitled to reservations. And therefore, while each of us is doing this, dharma unravels. You should ask yourself a simpler question. Pre-Mandal and post-Mandal, do you find a greater consolidation of the Hindu identity or greater consolidation of the core or not?
Absolutely.
Notwithstanding political victories of any organization. Let's not conflate that with what is happening at the societal level.
Right.
Of course, there's a relationship between what the society is thinking and what it represents there. However, or what it wants there. However, the fact of the matter is there is let's say a race to the bottom thanks to what the Mandal Commission did. Because what it has significantly done is that you identified one narrative on the basis of which you said the SCs and STs must be given some access to some of these remedies. That pie has only increased. When you keep doing this, those communities which previously were proud of the fact that they did not need reservation are now fighting for reservation. Now this news to me, so it's not that it's news to me. However, a fantastic example of this was given to me by a Kodava lady as part of my lecture in Bangalore on the UCC. So this lady was also previously present in my public engagement on Article 370 in August 2019. So she's a lawyer who was kind enough to again come. So she said, you know what? Kodava women and especially we as a community have always been proud of the fact that we are a self-made community, that we do not need the support of the state. We will manage, we will do everything. We are a martial community, we'll do this. That community which said this when the reservations were being initially introduced is today apparently a lot of members of the community are saying, why shouldn't we get reservations? The hope was that at some point the beneficiaries of reservation would say, we don't need it anymore, we have gone the other way. Now tell me that this has to be blamed entirely or this should be laid at the door of any one particular organization. No. How can you make that statement? I am going to say that maybe the affected communities, the truly originally affected communities can continue to have with the creamy layer exception. But outside of that, how do you really hope to compete at the global scale with so many forces ranged against you? If you really want to tell people, you want to be treated on the basis of merit, you call it privilege, I'll call you this, I'll shame you constantly, leave the place. Now the problem is, where will you go? Even America is saying the very same thing thanks to SB 403, the Seattle and Californian resolutions. Where will you go? You can't go anywhere. The only place perhaps you can go today is Russia or Poland, Eastern Europe. Canada, of course not.
Absolutely.
Absolutely not, right?
Yeah.
It's a cocaine-addled prime minister who's sitting there.
Sorry.
Right? What do? It's for the Indian state to think about this, but the Indian state is too busy peddling the very same narrative that's been used against us as a stick across the world. The stick wielded by the missionary is being wielded by the Indian state and its leading organizations.